Hi, I'm Majoros. I am a 5-year cancer survivor. My blog, The Cancer Warrior, is one of the top 10 breast cancer blogs according to blogs.com. I'm here to bring a fresh, upbeat perspective to a topic that to some may seem scary. A positive mental attitude got me through my cancer, and I hope to share that with you. So today I'm very excited because we are talking to a gold medalist, an Olympian, and a cancer survivor. It's Shannon Miller. She is a ovarian cancer survivor. How are you today, Shannon?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Excellent. So tell me a little bit, like, how did you find out, we know about your 5 medals. We'll talk about that. But, you were pretty young when you were diagnosed with cancer.
I was. My cancer was a germ cell tumor, which is a pretty rare form of ovarian cancer that tends to target women in their late teens and early 20s. Now, I was over 30, so that doesn't quite seem right. But yes, I think, and that's one of the things that's most important, and one of the reasons I went so public with my diagnosis is that I want people to know, especially women, to know that cancer doesn't care who you are, where you're from, how many gold medals you have. It's something that we all have to be aware of. We all have to be our own best health advocates, and that's just something we have to do on a daily basis.
Were you feeling sick, or did they just find this on a regular physical exam, or?
Yes, just a regular exam. I actually almost canceled my exam. I am ashamed to say, particularly as a health advocate, but it was Christmas. It was December of 2010. Everything was crazy. I had 2 program launches coming up in January to prepare for. I found out I was going to be out of town on the date that I had scheduled my exam, so I called up to cancel it. And while I was on hold with the receptionist, I thought, this isn't right. After all of the women I've spoken to and interviewed and all that I know, I shouldn't be postponing this appointment. But I ended up taking the first appointment available, which happened to be that morning. And for me, I drove over there not concerned about whether or not I was healthy. I was, fit and active and trying to do all the right things. But cancer certainly wasn't on my radar. I thought that I had been feeling fine, and during the pelvic exam, the doctor found a 7-centimeter tumor, a cyst on my ovary, and it kind of snowballed from there, tests and more tests, and by January, I was sitting in an oncologist's office.
That must have been, just frightening, crazy. Did they tell you right away it was cancer, or did they do biopsies and all that kind of thing?
No, I did not know right away. At first he said, well, cysts, they come and go in women all the time, so let's not get too worried. Let's do some more tests and observe it for, X amount of time. And I thought, well, I don't want to observe. Let's just get it out.
Don't you hate it when doctors say that? Because it's like, well, how am I going to look at it? You need to take it out.
I know. It's just one of those, and I think feeling somewhat betrayed by my body. Here I had used my body as a tool for all of these years in gymnastics, and if I needed to be more flexible, then I worked on it. If I needed to be stronger, I worked on it. And here all of a sudden was something that I couldn't control. So that was difficult for me. But as far as finding out it was cancer, I actually didn't find out it was cancer until after surgery. They knew it was a mass, so I got to sit in the oncologist's office and hear words like mass and malignancy and cancer being thrown about. But then we had to make that decision going into surgery. The physician, he looked at both my husband and I, and he said, well, I just want you to know, we really don't know what we're going to find once we get in there. And I need to understand how invasive you want it to be. I could wake up with complete hysterectomy. We were planning to expand our family at this time, and instead of calling my parents, telling them I was expecting, I was calling and telling them I may have cancer. So that was difficult. And we have one son. He was 15 months old at the time, and we just said, look, you do everything you have to do, so I'm here for him.
Right.
And then God will take care of the rest, and then we'll figure it out afterwards. But let's just get the cancer taken care of if that's what it is.
But that's good because I know that a lot of young adult cancer survivors are not told anything about cancer, or they're just like, you have nothing to worry about. And, as a health advocate like you are and I am, I think you have to at least have the doctor put that in your mind, even if it's not.
Well, I think it's important to have as many options on the table as possible, right, and to be able to go through those options with your family, with your physician, and really get an understanding of what's the right thing for you at that point in your life. Right. And we were very lucky that I woke up from surgery. Yes, it was cancer, a malignant germ cell tumor, but they had gotten it all. It was a very early stage, so that was all good news.
And did they didn't have to remove, you didn't have to have a hysterectomy or anything like that?
Not a hysterectomy. They removed the tumor, the left tube, and ovary.
Okay.
So they gave me a pretty good chance to still have children.
Oh, excellent. That must have made your family very happy.
It did. It was really good news. Of course, 2 weeks later, I got the news that I needed to go through chemotherapy, so it was kind of that 1-2 punch. But even with that, they've given me a good prognosis as far as potentially having children.
So what was the chemotherapy like? Because I know for a lot of ovarian cancer survivors, finding it late is the norm. What did they do for you for chemo?
That's right. Well, and that's the most difficult thing I think about ovarian cancer is there typically aren't symptoms until it's later in the game. And I look back and I wonder, well, was I having symptoms? I had been complaining of stomach aches, mm-hmm. but I was a year out from having a baby. So my body was kind of all a little bit wacky anyways. So you start thinking about that, but at the time, I would not have said that I had any symptoms.
Right.
And then, of course, we know that that's why they call ovarian cancer the silent killer, mm-hmm. Because you do end up finding it most of the time later in the game. I was fortunate. I did go through chemotherapy. It was 9 weeks of a pretty aggressive regimen. It was one of those things I really felt like, okay, it's surgery I really didn't have any control over. Physician, the doctor was going to do whatever he was going to do, and there wasn't much I could do to help. But chemo, okay, here's something where I can actively participate. I can work on my nutrition. I can focus on fitness. And when I say fitness, I don't mean a 2-hour workout. I mean
right.
a 10-minute walk, just gentle stretching, things like that. But taking care of those things gave me a little bit of that control back that I had been missing. But I do admit it was a lot tougher than I thought it was going to be.
Me too.
It definitely knocked me down.
My the nurse told me that I would lose my hair like within 14 days, and I was like, I thought I'd be like the 1% that didn't. No, exactly 2 weeks later, it was just like, dang it. And like you're saying, I think, I'm sure fatigue struck you as well with chemo, and it's hard to get out and just do that 10-minute walk when all you want to do is sleep because it just zaps everything. And like you said, nutrition is so important, and just getting out there and moving is so important. That's why it's good to have, like you have your husband, a good support system to say, you know what, but let's just go out. If it's nice outside, go outside, or go to the track. Let's just walk for a half hour. Or even if it's you don't have a track, we usually just go in the grocery store if it's cold out and walk around.
Yeah, and I think that's what helped me. Of course, like I said, my son was, 15, 16 months old when I started chemo. And for me, I had to get up, right, because he needed his diaper changed and he needed his mom. So while I did have wonderful friends that were able to come over and help me with him and whatnot, especially the lifting and whatnot after surgery. Right. But being able to walk him to the park, again, it's a 5-minute walk, and then I kind of sat on the bench and pushed him in his stroller for a little bit, and then we walked back. But even just that small thing, that being able to get out in the fresh air, I think really, really helped me, kind of got me back into the real world for a time.
Now, do you find when you talk to a lot of other survivors about your experience that they didn't really think about exercise and nutrition while they were going through chemo?
I think it's becoming more and more prominent,
Yes.
especially as more research comes out about the benefits of exercise before, during, and even after chemo. I mean, the research coming out that shows that it helps with even reoccurrence
Yes.
of cancer. So I think that's on people's minds, and I like to talk about it because it is so important. And I talk about it in a way that's more about the control factor. And I think, when you are diagnosed with when you have cancer, that is a big portion. And my mom is a cancer survivor, and I watched her go through this where she lost that control. And no one wants to lose control of their life and their body and what they're doing, and it's just not a good feeling. So if you can kind of regain some of that through physical fitness, I think that's a good place to start, and certainly your diet as well, although many times that's very difficult because of the nausea and the fatigue. And so those are some things that I think, going into chemo, I thought of it one way, and even having the experience with my mother, I thought of it one way, like, okay, well, you can get through the fatigue and you can get through the nausea and whatnot, but when it hits, it is like nothing you've ever experienced, and not that you can't get through it, you can, but it definitely does take some mental preparation and some will to succeed.
And when I was diagnosed, they didn't offer, and this was 5 years ago, they didn't offer a nutritionist. And my fiance and I had to ask to talk to one. And I think that's important. You need to, listen to someone like you, a health advocate, or at least say, what are my options? If your oncologist doesn't say, oh, well, let's talk to this person or a social worker, you need to step up because you are your own best health advocate and say, well, what should I eat? What shouldn't I eat? They always tell you, like, well, don't eat pasta or tomato sauce because the acidity. Okay, well, that doesn't tell me everything else that I should eat that'll make my body stronger while I'm going through chemo.
Right. Well, it's just such a different world. It's this new language you have to learn, and new, not a new way of eating, but just understanding what's going to fuel your body for the best outcome, and then what are the things to stay away from. I almost feel like it's a little bit like when you're pregnant, and well, don't eat, make sure the fruits and vegetables are washed really well, because your immune system is down when you're going through chemo. So you have to be protective of your body. You can't just maybe treat it the way you always have. You have to have that extra layer of protection. And you're right, you should ask about those things. And sometimes I think, when you talk to someone who has, and I had wonderful nurses and wonderful physicians, I just can't say enough good about them, but even then, they're doing this every single day. Right. And they may from time to time take it for granted that maybe you don't know where to get a wig, or what to do about your sensitive skin, or the foods that you really love to eat. Well, all of a sudden, those are maybe not the best things for you.
I agree, and I think you're right, because sometimes when you ask the nurse, and I had great doctors and nurses, they just probably automatically assume that that because they deal with hundreds of patients every day. But I always say, if you're in doubt when you're going through treatment or anything, call your doctor and ask, because that's what they're there for. And and I'm a big proponent is, if you don't like your doctor, if you're not getting along with them, you don't feel like you're getting the right care, fire your doctor and find somebody who will help you.
Well, that's right, because I think you have to have a rapport with your doctor. You have to be on the same team. You have to be getting through this together. And so you want to create that team that has a solutions-based attitude, they have a winning attitude, are positive, yet at the same time will talk to you and tell you the hard stuff when you need to hear it. So it's really important that you get along with your physician and the nurses as well. In many hospitals now, they have nurse navigators. Right. And these are terrific people that really, that's exactly what they do. They navigate the waters of this entire cancer team and everything that you're going through. And you can literally call them and ask them anything, and they will point you in the right direction or give you an answer. And so if that's something that your hospital has available, take advantage of that.
Oh, absolutely. My hospital didn't have that, but I think they do now. But at the time, I'm sure when you were diagnosed, things are going, even just 2 years ago, things have gone forward a lot as far as survivorship and chemo and nutrition, just getting the word out there for survivors.
Well, and I think that's a really important point that you just mentioned. Things are moving very rapidly in many areas of cancer and cancer treatment. So it's also important, and someone had told me this, another survivor had told me this early on, don't listen to your neighbor who went through cancer. Don't listen to, Aunt Joyce or, whoever that is. This is what you're going through, and it's going to be very individual. Right. So don't allow others' experiences to create fear, because it may be a completely different scenario for you, and likely is, because even if it was the same type of cancer, that doesn't mean that it's going to be the same treatment and the same road for you. And we all know that, when we have a rough time, we tend to talk more about our rough time than we do our good times. So we have to kind of shield yourself from kind of letting that fear and anxiety in.
Right. And if you're not a survivor, don't tell us that Aunt Susie passed away from the same thing, because that's, we don't want to.
That's right.
How many times I've heard that? It's like, oh, you have breast cancer? Well, my, so-and-so died from that. I'm like, yeah, that's not helping. Not at all. No.
Well, again, it reminds me a lot of when I was pregnant with my first son, and you heard, every, labor horror story out there, and you're like, wait, this isn't helping.
Right.
Don't tell me that.
So how did the athletic mindset help you dealing with cancer and survivorship and beyond?
I think first and foremost, the idea of setting goals. That's something that's very prominent in my life. It was something I learned early on in my competitive career. Set that long-term goal, and then set those short-term goals, something every single day that you have to achieve in order to make it to that long-term goal. So, all of a sudden my long-term goal, to live.
Right.
So what do I have to do to get there? And, surgery was kind of, went fast, but then the chemo was my big journey.
Yes.
Okay, I've got 9 weeks. I've got to get through 9 weeks, and what do I need to get there? I kind of created a game plan as far as, medication that I needed to stay up on, all of my doctor's appointments, of course, and then exercise and nutrition. And not that it was easy, it wasn't, but at least having a plan and a schedule and something to kind of check off my list each day kept me moving forward. And I feel like that's the competitive mindset, that athletic mindset, is just keep moving forward. And yeah, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to face obstacles, but you just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and you just keep plugging away.
I agree. Obviously I'm not an Olympic gymnast, but I play hockey, and I was going to the gym, and I was in the best physical shape that I'd been. And then, no one ever thought cancer. And I think even if you just go to the gym and, like you said, casually work out, and my doctor said, you went through chemo and radiation so well because you were exercising right up until the point where I had surgery. And it's just something that I think a lot of people may take for granted. Oh, I don't have time to exercise. I don't have time to do this. But then people are in front of the TV watching whatever, Dancing with the Stars or whatever your favorite TV show is. You could even, exercise at home, buy a DVD and get exercise. I can't stress enough about exercising or just, like you said, nutrition. I'm on the same page as you as far as that goes.
Well, and it's important, and it's important for all of us, cancer or not. And,
right.
And hey, I like my TV shows.
Well, yes.
But what I do, so I know, okay, I've got to get my workout in, and I really kind of want to watch the show, so why don't I work out while I'm watching my show?
Exactly.
And, you multitask a little bit to try to, balance your life the way you want it. But it is important. And I think and what I've found as well, working out as a, quote, kind of regular person versus, 40 hours a week as a competitive gymnast,
right,
is that, one, I don't have time to work out 6 hours a day. Who has that kind of time?
Right.
I have a life. I have, a family, a work, a job. But what I can do is plot out that time, that 30, 45 minutes a day. And when I do that, the days that I actually make a point to get my fitness in, I feel so much better.
Yes.
I'm more energized, so I'm more productive. And I end up getting things finished and completed a lot faster than I would if I had stayed in bed that extra 45 minutes or just kind of piddled around and did things for that extra 45 minutes or even worked because I just thought my brain works better. Just things kind of click along a little bit better. It's just getting that started, I think, is many times the hardest part.
So what would you tell somebody who, is healthy, but they don't have cancer and they're going to hear you speak and they say, well, why should I exercise? Why should I change my lifestyle? I probably won't get cancer. And I know we all say that, but what would you tell? And I'm sure you've had people come up to you and say that.
I don't think fitness, I don't think exercise is necessarily about, it is just about, preventing cancer or even diabetes or heart disease. Yes, it's about all of those things and so many other health issues, but it's also just about feeling good. Feeling good about yourself, feeling confident, feeling empowered,
yes.
Using your body to have strength and flexibility. And I think you walk a little bit taller. And I just think it's such a healthy thing. And when we work out, a lot of times we just feel healthier, so then we want to eat healthier.
Yes.
And it's just this snowball effect of good health. And the other thing I try to remind people is that you're also a role. You're setting a great example for your children, for your grandchildren, for these generations of children to come. And, of course, we're battling this issue of childhood obesity. But when kids see you working out and making the fitness a part of your lifestyle, and especially when they see it as a positive thing that you enjoy doing and it makes you feel better, then that's what they want to do as well.
Now, since you mentioned it, childhood obesity, that is one of your causes. Talk a little bit about that, your foundation.
It is. My foundation, I started it in 2007, and we are dedicated to fighting childhood obesity. And primarily we do it through physical activity, helping children know that physical activity can be fun.
Oh, yes.
We run running programs for children. We have about 7,000 kids in Jacksonville in our running clubs, and it's anything forward moving. So running, skipping, hopping, jumping, whatever it is, as long as it's forward moving, we teach them about goal setting and leadership. And it's just a fabulous program. And helping kids get involved with physical activity at an early age.
And they're probably setting a good example for their parents as well.
Well, it's funny how that works, isn't it? Because when the kids come home and say, I need to run some more. I need to get more miles in so I can get my next token, or I need to get ready because we've got an event coming up where all the kids can run a mile and they get a free T-shirt and whatnot. Well, then the parents have to go out there and practice with the kids. In fact, we had one woman the very first year that we held our race, our annual kids race. She said, well, my 5-year-old wanted to run in this race so badly, but I couldn't let him go out and run around the neighborhood alone. I had to go with him. And all of a sudden I've lost 15 pounds, and she the next year ran a marathon. Wow. And this is a woman that was, by her own estimate, morbidly obese, and said, I just, it took me a while to get through it, but I did it, and I never imagined that I could do something like that in my entire life.
That's awesome. That must have made you feel.
And that was her 5-year-old that helped her do it.
That's awesome. And just think how many people she inspired just by her 5-year-old and running a marathon. That's right. So you also have, I know we're running out of time, but I do want to touch on it. Shannon Miller Lifestyle, your TV show?
Well, Shannon Miller Lifestyle is my company, and we do a little bit of everything. I have free programs. We have a free Walk Fit program that anyone can join, and they basically just receive rewards for walking. Nice. They get a free pedometer, and we just want to encourage people to get out and walk, take those steps, and get them logged. I do a radio show, a weekly radio health show. Excellent. And I've also written fitness books, and we've done prenatal and postnatal fitness DVDs for women. But, kind of all of these different facets of the company are all directed to one mission, and that's to help women make their health a priority.
Right. Because we're, as women, we always take care of everyone else, but we also have to remember we have to take care of ourselves as well.
That's right. And I think, my whole cancer journey really boiled down to that. I had to remember that it's not selfish to want to take care of myself. Mm-hmm. It's not selfish to make my health a priority, because if I didn't make it a priority, I wasn't going to be here for that little boy that I needed to be here for.
Exactly. And I think I hear the same thing. It's like, well, I don't have time to go to the doctor. It's like, well, you had 9 weeks of chemo. I had like 4 or 5 months. I mean, do you really have time for that?
Yeah. Exactly.
What's a couple hours, on a good day if you're waiting for the doctor out of your life versus that, because no one ever wants to go. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and the other thing I think many people face is just that idea of fear. What if it is something? What if I get the bad news? And I guess what I try to tell, especially those loved ones in my life that are going through an issue, it's better to find out early.
Yes.
Find out early when you have lots of options and there's something that they could do about it.
I agree, because no one wants to go to the doctor and actually find something. Like that's the one place that you don't want to go and be like, you know what, I guess just got a cancer diagnosis. Yes. You want to go to the store and get something free, but you don't want that. I think, like you said, it's the fear of going, and nobody likes going to the doctor, but I think obviously they are the most important people we have out there. They're my rock stars, I think. Actually.
Well, it's important. I think there's so many things that we can do to be proactive in our health, and it's not going to catch everything, unfortunately,
right.
But if you get your regular screenings and exams, if you work on everything in moderation as far as your nutrition, if you live a pretty healthy lifestyle as far as being fit and active, you don't have to go crazy doing, crazy amounts of workout,
right.
But get, 30 minutes, an hour a day of exercise. Those can help ward off a lot of issues.
So we're almost out of time, but I do want to find out where people can get a hold of you if they want to see you speak or find out about your books or anything like that, your radio show.
Sure, absolutely. You can go to shannonmillerlifestyle.com and get all the information. We've got our news and events. You can see my whole schedule up there. We try to keep it pretty updated, all of my books and videos, and some great articles, some great, very informative articles. We've also got some great bloggers on the site that have done a fantastic job. So there's lots of information there, lots of programs and events you can get involved with.
Do you bring your gold medals to your speeches?
When asked, I do. So every now and then, yes.
And you're also on Twitter at ShannonMiller96, Facebook.
That's right, yep.
SM Lifestyle, and Pinterest, SM Lifestyle as well. So if they can't find you, Shannon, I don't know what to tell you,
Yeah, exactly. I'm all over the place, so you can definitely track me down.
Exactly. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very grateful that you took time out of your busy schedule today to squeeze me in. I know you have a hectic day today. So if you just hang on just a second, I'm going to wrap up like I usually do. This is Mel Majoros. I am the Cancer Warrior. You can always find me on Facebook because I am a Facebook junkie. Become a fan of the show, The Cancer Warrior, on empowerradio.com on Facebook. Check out my blog, thecancerwarrior.blogspot.com. And as always, life looks pretty good from where I'm sitting. Sending you good vibes. It's The Cancer Warrior on empowerradio.com.